And we're off.
And we're off.
Oh, we're so off.
Oh, I'd like to make sure that you're off. I'd like to even perhaps aid in you being off.
Well, if we weren't off, we'd have to get off. So,
maybe I feel like getting myself off would be kind of laborious. What if like you got me off and then I got you off?
That sounds like a very fair trade.
That seems like it's pretty reasonable.
That sounds like mutual aid, which is a concept I've been reading about recently. Yeah, in various literatures.
Nice.
Yeah, they have the complete works of Kropotkin on Pornhub.
Ooh, interesting.
It's just like somebody not wearing clothes reading. It's like a visual audiobook. Just reading anarchic literature.
Just are they flaccid? Or are they?
No. They are completely tumescent.
Nice.
They are rigid as a bamboo stalk. I feel like bamboo stalks actually bend over a lot.
They're flexible.
They're pretty rigid.
They're flexible, but they're very strong.
They're flexible in an interesting way.
Yes, much like my
rigid,
penis.
like a piece of chalk.
It's interesting. That's interesting. I never really thought that it would be flexible in that way.
Of my phallus as a metaphor for itself.
Yeah.
Which might be the best metaphor.
Yeah. Yep. I love self-similar metaphors. It's like
his penis was like his penis.
Yeah.
But hard.
That's great. That would be so good. Like whatever 6th grade you learn about similes. They're like, all right, yeah. Why don't they, Jimmy? Why don't you stand up and give us your example of the simile? And you just
his penis was hard as a dick.
No, what was it? His penis was like a penis, but hard. Teacher's just in tears, like brilliant. God.
Well, I guess we've got ourselves a poet. Oh dang, got ourselves a poet.
Looks like we got ourselves a poet here, boys.
Her breasts were like 2 round things on her chest that I kept staring at.
That if I were to use the outer limits of my imagination, would be fun to play with.
I mean, there is a very strong sensation when you go, when you're studying poetry, like the concept of white male privilege is really put on display by how bad much poetry that is considered great really is. Because, I'm not saying all of those poets, like Lord Byron or William Blake or Alfred Lord Tennyson or anyone like that, all of their poetry was bad, but all those guys wrote some real awful poetry.
Yeah. Yep, sure did.
Yeah.
So you want to start this alarmingly sober episode?
I thought we had.
Oh man, there's this one like truck around here. It's so good, man. I haven't seen it in a while, but the dude's got like, it's like, first of all, it's raised up, of course, and it's like maybe I don't know how old the truck is, but it's clearly like an older Ford truck or a Chevy or something that has been like kept, has been maintained and taken care of and stuff. And it's got, it's loud, first of all, so they've done something to make it extra loud. Cow horns on the front of it, decals on it says, "You got another thing coming." That's my favorite car I've ever seen in my life. I wouldn't want to own it, but just that guy, whenever I would see that guy, man, huge smile on my face.
Yeah.
But so just I was just going to say, just the entire like notion of just the idea, the concept of "you got another thing coming" oh man, it makes one of the things that makes me happiest in the world.
It is one of the all-time greatest phrases. Like whoever first said that has vanished into the mists of history, but they really do deserve more credit than they get.
Yeah.
100%. No, the God, I love stuttering. The description of that truck that you just gave. There is a very similar vehicle with a couple alterations that actually mean slightly more effort was put into the preposterousness of it.
Yeah.
So it's a stretch, like a homemade stretch Cadillac.
Whoa.
Yeah, well, you can tell that they just sort of welded more car into the middle of it,
That's
or like
great.
welded two cars together, but like one was cut off right
Oh
towards the
man.
back end, and one was
Yeah.
cut off sort of towards the front. And they're just put together. It's got cow horns on the grill.
Oh, nice.
It's painted orange in a way that suggests it was just sort of painted with a can of spray paint.
Yeah.
And lifted, but in the sort of it is lifted in a way that would be equivalent to say a professional lift job on a car, the kind with hydraulics where you can like
Uh-huh.
control it and stuff.
Yeah.
Was an expensive gym, like a nice gym that you could go to. This is taping paint cans full of rocks to a piece of rebar and using that as a bench press.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Nice.
it makes the rounds around the county. I've seen it actually in the county south of this one, just driving up and down the highway. And I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure it's like some sort of redneck cab service where he has this like underground sort of I don't know, but I drove by where it parks at one point. I went down this back road by accident and saw it parked, and there was a sign, and I can't remember if it said like the hillbilly limo or the redneck limo or something. But there's some business that is associated with this car.
That's great. I mean, you might as well capitalize on that thing because that's, it's one of a kind.
Oh, I think it is the truest expression of the free market I've ever seen. Besides pictures of Vietnam getting napalmed.
I mean, I was gonna say either that or if this was, if it was like, if you could somehow buy and sell shares of that car.
You probably can. I mean, I'm sure if you just buy him replacement parts, he lets you have that amount of ownership over it.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah, there are some, there are just some amazing, the perfect vision of America is just driving down a road in a rural area and going by a bungalow, a mid-70s or even mid-80s isn't even better, mid-80s built bungalow. So it has the same amount of character as the sliding doors at a Best Buy. Just this house that fell out of a catalog into the middle of a piece of property.
Yeah.
Somewhere 2 roads off the highway. Mm-hmm. And you see this shop attached to it that has a homemade or sort of the local machinist made it sign for a barbecue business, maybe?
Uh-huh.
Or something along those lines. And I feel like you can see that anywhere in America, but like you just are driving down that kind of a road and you just see this house that was made between 30 and 40 years ago, built between 30 and 40 years ago, and then just, some attempt to capitalize on something they have that is just, it is such a combination of the parts of the human spirit that you want to laud and the capitulation of those parts of the human spirit to the society we live in, which is utter trash.
Yep, 100%. Especially because, like, if you go to any of those places, you're either likely to have, like, some of the best, like, barbecue ever, or just, like, very mediocre experiences.
Or get shot.
Or get shot. But, like, 9 times out of 10, there's, like, some very, very creative, low-budget setup that you're like, wow, that's pretty clever. I mean, it's, like, there's a 95% chance of this place burning down if you don't adjust that, like, in the next year,
Yeah.
But, hey, man, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
And people are clever, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, it might be, I don't know I don't want to go too deep into what my perception of the demographics of that are, because I don't want to make, broad assumptions about stuff. But I will say broadly that sort of perception of the achievability of the American dream aligns with politics. I don't necessarily agree with. I'll go with that. It's that when people talk about the rural urban divide, there are a lot of claims made about shall we say, the inner city, which are,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm couching that in that media outlets used that term as
Yeah.
code for something. And there is a I don't know much about the reality of that because I've never lived in a big city.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard that term, and I've heard that term used a lot, and then eventually, was enlightened as to what was racistly being coded into that.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the same token sort of went, oh, so when people say rural, what they mean is a thing that I do actually recognize, and it in a very complicated way, because I know people like that, does terrify me. Because those are the yeah man. Rural America is America.
Yep. It's a place.
Mm-hmm. let me say it this way: lot of American flags flying outside of those types of houses, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Not all in the classical color scheme of the American flag.
Nope.
Yeah, sort of just
Maybe not all even the current flags that are flown. You know, perhaps they're history buffs.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Yeah. I don't know why we're trying to be politely coded about fucking white supremacists who have small businesses.
I don't know what you're talking about.
They're not people whose feelings I really care about.
Yeah.
It's just funny to be oblique.
That's our main audience. I've been hiding the all the data from you.
Yeah.
But look at the analytics, we are
being listened to by it's almost like looking at a map of gerrymandered districts.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's,
so rude awakening for Cork Taint.
Yeah. Oh God. Well,
if you think do you think either I'm gonna share those analytics with you or anything that our audience is gonna change, you got another thing coming.
There it is. And for the sweet innocent audience member who is wondering what the fuck is going on, we are talking today about business structure.
This is what happen. This is what happens when we aren't focused on wine.
Yeah.
We're currently being dazzled by wine in front of us.
Or disgusted. Dazzled or disgusted.
Dazzled and disgusted. Dazzled or disgusted.
And disgusted.
Dazzled or disgusted, and it's just like you open up it's just a game show where you either open this box up, and it's just like a box full of crumpled up shiny tinfoil,
Mm-hmm.
or you open the box and it's just cat vomit. That's it.
But it's a game show that is just real live Reddit 50/50.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is, but it kind of makes sense what that is.
Yeah, no, it's just r/50/50 was this. I think it still exists, but it was definitely better when Reddit was younger, where you would go on it and every thumbnail would be pixelated out.
Oh yeah.
Or just when it would just have the locked image over the thumbnail.
Yeah.
And the title would be one thing / other thing. Mm-hmm. And one thing would be adorable puppy, and the other thing would be man literally dying. And you'd click on the image and it would either be an adorable puppy or a man getting run over by a tractor or something.
Wow.
And
that's yeah.
Yeah, and what was so crazy, that it was a game was that it was in that moment of Reddit where you would do Reddit with other people, where someone who understood Reddit would log on to Reddit and be like, guys, check this out, and you'd all stand there looking at the 50/50 page trying to guess what the image was going to be of. It's hole straight through a hand, or the best high five ever, and then you click on it and it's a gif of two people running, jumping, swinging their arms in full 360 arcs and then slapping hands together. And the game was trying to, based on how the title was written, perceive whether or not a thing probably existed as an image. It was a classic thing was really nice tits or gangrenous feet. And you click on it, it would just be some picture of boobs. some of the most disturbing things I've ever seen were on that particular subreddit.
Nice.
Yeah, and
Images that just never come out of your head.
yeah, no, nope. The hole through a hand one particularly. Woo. It's just it's just exactly what it sounds like, and it's just like, no, God, no, no.
Just
why?
imagine someone's hand, draw a circle on that, then remove that circle. That's
Yeah, yep. And
that's
then
it.
discover how much you didn't know about the anatomy of a hand.
Ugh. Nice.
But the fucking that just like that we are minutes away from that as a culture where there's just a game show where it's 50-50, and then it's just Family Feud basically, except there's just a big like two captions up on the screen, and a big image that's a question mark, and you go up and it's like, all right, you're in the hot seat. 50-50. Is it a kitten licking a seal's nose or a stripper queefing in a guy's face? And it's family friendly, obviously, so it's
yeah.
all the
it's blurred
appropriate
out,
parts of the the strip club are blurred out, but
yeah. Yep.
yeah.
Well, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'd
Obviously,
like
it's hosted by Steve Harvey, and every time it's the inappropriate image, it's just him going, "What?"
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
Sounds like a winner. You should pitch it.
I mean, Netflix will pick up anything these days.
Yeah.
But Rick and Morty's already covered that, so we don't need to. What we should cover, and what would also be a great, I don't know if game show, like, I think it would be more fun as, like, an Office-esque television show, would be an Office-esque sort of show called The Distributors. And it's about people who work for a beverage distribution company.
That would actually be pretty good. I think that's a great idea.
I think it would be, yeah. Because you could have, like, funny recurring characters, like, imagine the sort of collection of wine store owners you could have in
Oh, yeah. One of the people is a sales rep, and that's just asking for just bit ideas.
Yeah.
That's literally it.
When you have the warehouse guy who's just, like, just kind of over it, a la Daryl from The Office. You have the van drivers, the guys who actually go pick up the wines, and then you have the trips to, like, say, so you'd have to set it so it would totally buy into the coastal elite, like LA versus New York thing, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's got to be either in LA or New York. Obviously, you got to put it in New York because, I mean, or you know what? You could set this in Portland. You could set it in Portland, Oregon. Not now because that city is under martial rule. But by the time this episode comes out, that'll just be be true.
yeah. I mean, or it could be like a distributor, like a big distributor, like Rosenthal or something.
Yeah, which would also be good. Okay,
yeah.
So
you can do both.
But don't most importers freight stuff in over on boats, or do they fly stuff in?
No, I think it's probably freighted in. That would be much. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, it's probably freighted in. Flying it in would be so expensive.
Yeah, there's just so much weight, which is why I think it'd be fun if you could have, like, periodically episodes where they go down to the wharf. And deal with
you get the
boat
sea
crews
captain
and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, yes. You have to have the sea captain.
The sea captain.
It's just an insane man who wears nothing but sweaters and those classic fisherman's hats.
Oh yeah, he's the most like just hackneyed sea captain.
Yeah, and he's just like, it was a blow out there.
He's got a pipe all the time.
Yeah,
like, no, that's got to be.
It was a hard passing this time.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the crew are all just like, yeah. So could you sign this release form? We need to transfer. Like, we need you to sign off on this shipping container. Otherwise, we can't get the excise tax. Well, not the excise, the import tax. We can't get the import tax ratified. Can you just sign? He's like,
just sign.
I tell you, I saw the whale on the horizon. I saw it, but I saw its. What is the term? Fuck. Shit. God damn it. I saw its blowhole. Wait, no. What is it called when they blow shit out their blowhole?
Oh, fuck. What is that called?
Spout?
I don't remember. I can't think of it. I don't know. Yeah.
What we're saying is there would be like some section of the show that was just jokes about Moby Dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah. So what would be some other elements of this
What, the show?
idea that we're going to develop with Netflix as soon as COVID is over and we can get back to making mediocre television for the internet?
Oh, I got a couple real bad ones that I'm not gonna elaborate on.
So there'd be all the restaurants,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Oh, you mean aspects of this show?
Oh yeah, I was using this as an angle into talking about distribution and how distribution works.
Oh, I was thinking about other like shows that we could pitch to Netflix. That would be
Oh,
like just
oh
dumb
yeah.
game shows. But no,
Okay,
no.
so yeah.
What other aspect of the show? Yeah, what else? I mean,
So restaurants, so distributors, they're the ones who actually sell the wines to restaurants. So,
yeah.
um, like restaurants and wine shops, I imagine have different relationships with distributors, and I don't know, maybe you have more information about that. Like restaurants can be pretty interesting in how they buy wine. I don't know a huge amount about it, but there is a difference in restaurants that have a lot of access to wine and restaurants that have access to a cellar space. So some restaurants have like their own cellars that are pretty extensive.
Yeah.
And their relationships to distributors are very different from restaurants that, like, for example, a chain restaurant, or like a, I don't even know, like slightly nicer chain than say a Olive Garden. Bubba Gump Shrimp.
PF Chang's.
Yeah, they just have a distributor that they're buying all their wine through.
Yeah.
Like that, and that distributor will come up with their wine list for them, basically.
Yeah.
The same thing can happen at certain supermarkets. Where like supermarkets just like, yeah, we work through this distributor. They show up, they give us, they come up with our wine selection for us, and then they just deliver that. Same's true with beer. A lot of distribution companies deal with beer and wine. The thing that gets weird about it is, and there are a lot of states that like lump together, but basically every state has its own laws about liquor and how liquor is to be sold and how distributors are to operate. So there are some distributors that can operate in multiple states, and other states where every distribution company just exists within that state. Studying learning about all of that is a nightmare. That they're like an entire job for wineries is compliance with liquor laws, state liquor law, and getting your license to sell to distributors in certain states. Because the 3-tier system is that you can produce something, then you have to sell it to a distributor, and then you have to sell it to someone else. And that exists in a lot of places. There are exceptions to that. There are situations where a producer can sell it either by themselves or to a point of sale, like for example a supermarket directly. But those rules only exist in certain states. Like you're not allowed to do that all the time, and you're not allowed to do it between states. Like you can't have a direct relationship where someone from your there might be exceptions to this state given a couple states, I don't know, but say you were in the mind to start a winery, it would be good to start from the assumption that you can't just drive with cases of wine to some other state and drop them off at a supermarket that's then going to sell them.
Yeah.
So, the distributor is the interstitial, they're the middleman. They are the Dunder Mifflin of the wine world.
But within your state.
Within your state, you can circumvent that.
Yeah. So I get
Within your state, you can make wine and then have a relationship where you go. And there are some states where I don't think this is true, because certain states have very draconian laws. But there are a lot of states where you can make something and then drive it to a supermarket and drop it off, and then the supermarket can sell it to consumers.
Yeah. Do you want to just do like a real quick, like before we go any further into the details of the 3-tier system, just outwardly state what the 3-tier system is?
Oh yeah, producer, distributor, retail outlet.
Yeah. So if a lot of people don't know that, but because if you're not in the industry, you don't really think about it much. You just go to the wine store and buy it.
Yeah.
Or whatever, and but yeah, if you make a wine in Washington and you want to sell it in a wine shop in California, you can't just mail it to the wine shop.
Yeah.
You got to go through.
Call FedEx up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just buy a whole fuckload of stamps.
Oh yeah. Yep. Just
go to stamps.com.
Cover the outside of the box in stamps. That'd be real. Can you do that? No.
No. There are. So that's part of compliance. There are some. So wineries employ somebody who will work in compliance so that that person can, if they have a wine club, they can box up wine and get the proper paperwork to send it directly from one state to another if those states have laws that allow for that. So you can, as a winery, ship wine directly to an individual. Shipping it to a store is another thing. So
No. I mean, can you just put a whole bunch of stamps on a box?
Oh, well, I mean, in theory, I guess you could, to get a shipping label. Usually that's included in, like, the shipping label that you pay for at FedEx or something. That's why you
But, I mean, if you just, like, if you weigh it, whatever, calculate that shit and just do it yourself.
I think the USPS, for liability reasons, does not ship alcohol.
Yeah. No, but I mean, just if I want to just mail a brick.
Oh, yeah.
Put in a box. Just cover the box in stamps.
Yep.
Yeah, nice. Didn't
No,
know.
that's you just, because after a certain point, it's just based on weight.
Yeah.
So you like.
Do I even need a box? Like, could I just put like a sticker of address on the brick and cover the rest of it in stamps?
Yes, I believe so. I think a forever stamp is good up to 13 ounces, and I don't know if it's just like basic arithmetic where it's like every forever stamp gives you another 13 ounces, but
that'd be great, man. I might have to try that.
I think like I'm pretty sure that's how that works, man.
That's some research. But anyway, yeah, so
I could be totally wrong, but
yeah. Okay, so yeah, so
it's worth the shot. If anyone out there is a big fan of this show, you can send a brick to us at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Washington, D.C. I don't know. I had the zip code off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah. Is it 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue?
I think so.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's producer, distributor, and then whatever, seller, be it a retailer or a restaurant or whatever.
Point of sale. POS.
Right. So yeah, for domestic markets, that's how it works. Between states, you need to go through a distributor. If you're making your wine in Michigan, I think you can just sell it to a wine shop in Michigan. Same thing. I mean, again, that's probably going to vary like state to state, but I would assume that that's generally how it works. And all
things get very complicated in states like Utah.
Or like Pennsylvania, I think.
Yeah, Pennsylvania has wild laws about all this.
Yeah.
And fun to note, a lot of these laws were heavily influenced by hooch smugglers post-Prohibition, because a lot of people were making a whole lot of money smuggling booze around the country and selling it to speakeasies and whatnot. And when Prohibition was ending, like when the amendment was getting put forward to end Prohibition, those entities were powerful enough that they, it's where like. And I'm not good on the history of this. It's been pointed out to me, and it's something that I've been meaning to research more. And I'm sure there are some really good books out there that I should have looked up so that I could recommend them to people. But just as a general topic, it's worth looking into. But like the mob and organized crime's relationship to just alcohol, influenced a lot of laws and distribution structures that came out of the post-Prohibition moment. So and NASCAR, actually, apparently.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because smuggling booze meant you needed to have a car that you could hide the booze in, so you'd have like a false bottom in your trunk or something. Put a bunch of moonshine in there, or whatever, whiskey, whatever it was, and then, you had to make it look like your car didn't have a couple 100 pounds of liquid in it. So you would beef up the suspension, and then when they weren't actually moving booze around, they would race against each other because they'd souped up their cars to the point that they were like, better than a normal car would be. And that just sort of continued evolving into NASCAR.
There you go.
Is my understanding of it. Again, don't have a book to cite, don't know where to send you to learn more about that, but Google
we
exists.
Are sponsored by NASCAR.
Vroom vroom, motherfuckers.
So, NASCAR, drink and drive.
These two are not
supported by NASCAR.
Yeah. Cork Taint. No official affiliation to NASCAR.com. I know it's not safe, but goddamn, I do love Fig Newtons.
I know it's not safe, but God, I do love saying the N-word.
No.
Not brought to you by NASCAR. But probably would not surprise you if it was brought to you by NASCAR.
No, yeah. I mean, the fact that they made a big deal about taking down the Confederate flags is very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, yeah, my guy. We got
that's distribution structures.
Yes, wait, but that is, it's domestic. What about international?
Well, so then, well, do you want to illuminate the idea of an importer for the audience? Because I need to go get a phone charger so that I can keep having this conversation.
Okay, yeah. So, importers, a couple famous ones are Kermit Lynch, there's Rosenthal, there's one in Berkeley that's really good, North Berkeley Imports. Anyway, so basically what they do is they will go and find somebody's wines, and then, like Kermit Lynch did this a bunch, where he'd go through, find like the lesser name producers, and in whatever, Beaujolais or Burgundy or wherever, Italy, doesn't matter where, and be like, hey, I really like your wine, I would like to sell it in the United States, and then they make some sort of contract with them and base of what its specifics. I don't know much about like contracts like from importers or whatever. Whether they like I don't know if it's like whatever, we'll buy this much from you and then that's it, or if they get a reflection of sales or whatever. I don't know. But that's generally the idea. And then places like Kermit Lynch in Berkeley, where they will import the wine, and then they also have a shop where they just sell it right there. But to further confuse matters, Kermit Lynch is also a distributor. So if you own a wine shop in Florida or something, say, I'm assuming, I don't know specifically how it works in Florida. Again, you can't, like, I'm not from Florida, I don't know exactly all the fucking laws in Florida, but it's annoying where you have to generally know, like, which states are a pain in the ass and which states are easy or whatever. So, let's just assume Florida is easy or whatever. If you want a wine imported by Kermit Lynch in Florida, you buy it from Kermit Lynch and they act as a distributor. So they import the wine and distribute it. So then you can sell it. So you can't buy the wine directly from that French person and sell it there, but they can because they're an importer. And I don't know, like, if it's like being an importer and a retailer like them and a distributor, like, I have no idea what all that paperwork is like. It's probably a shitload, but it would be interesting. I've actually thought about that a lot, because I don't know if because like are they technically, like, are they distributing to themselves, or is that just, can they just sort of bypass the distribution as an importer? I don't know how that works, but that's how wines, that's how they work. And so certain, like, importers will have like exclusivity kind of with like producers. So let's say I don't know, pick some, like Rosenthal has like the Chateau Simone wines, and Martins has the Reyes wines. So like those are really highly sought after wines. So if you want to get those wines as a wine shop owner or restaurateur or whatever, you have to get them through those. So just because you, like, if you want a Chateau Simone but you don't want to buy it from Rosenthal, you can't be like, hey, Kermit Lynch, why don't you get some of those? And they're like, no, we can't. That's not how this works. So yeah, I guess that's generally how that process works. It's strange. It's a huge fucking nightmare. Yeah. So
it's deeply political.
It is. Yeah. And it's a real pain in the ass, because if you were like, oh wow, I love this French producer, then it's like if you love a producer, then let's say you go to your local wine shop and you're like, oh, I love Tourlant champagne, I love it, and then you're like, could you get it for me? And they're like, maybe no, because if they're just like, yeah, we don't have a relationship with that distributor or whatever, we don't have an account open with them, or we're just like, we don't want to do that whole fucking thing, we'll just be like, no, we can't get that. Or sometimes if it's like allocated stuff, you literally can't get it. Like they will not receive an allocation of it, because there's a restricted quantity that even if you do get allocated those wines, you might only get like 6 bottles of it or something. So that allocation is a whole separate thing. But
well, an allocation. Oh, sorry.
No, I was gonna say, just like the distance set between like consumer and producer is very intentional.
Yeah.
And the more you get into like being interested in the industry or whatever, it's like it's like obvious. Like there are some, fortunately in like the US, like you can buy from like there's some producers in Oregon I really love, and they or Washington or in California and stuff that like they don't distribute out to where I am. So I can't get those wines unless I buy it from them, and they have to send it to me. But I can't just go to my local shop and buy it because they don't distribute. Some places don't distribute at all. If they're small enough and they don't want to deal with sales, they just want to sell it. They just want to sell all the stuff from the winery, from the tasting room, whatever. They can choose to do that. So it's all, yeah.
Well, so another thing about that whole system, when you sell to a distributor as a winery, you sell to them. So, and this is something that I don't know what the generals, like, you don't learn about this in this kind of thing, I think, enough in school. I didn't. I don't know. But I think most people, by the time they're an adult, have some concept of the idea of, like, what buying at wholesale means, which means that is the price that a retail outlet buys whatever the product is at, right?
Yeah.
So say you're a supermarket, you're buying apples. Supermarket pays wholesale, consumer pays retail.
Yeah.
The thing about the system we're talking about is because the distributor also has to make money on all of this, they don't pay the producer wholesale. They buy at what's called freight on board, or FOB, which it tends to be, so wholesale is a kind of fuzzy number below retail, and it can float a little bit, but it's usually about 2/3 of retail. Freight on board is pretty solidly understood to be half of retail. So if you have a retail price for a wine and you're talking to a distributor, they're expecting to be able to get it for about half of what you were saying the retail price is. And then they'll go and sell it however they want, to whoever they want. Like, that's the other thing about that whole system is you have no real say in where the wine you make gets represented once you're selling to either an importer or a distributor. Yeah. If you want it to be in certain places, you have to go to certain distributors, because certain supermarkets or certain restaurants have relationships with specific distributors. So
that's true.
You know, it's kind of the inverse of the importer thing, where it's like, if you want certain wines, you have to go to certain importers. If you want your wines in certain restaurants, you have to go through certain distributors. You know, supermarket's probably a better example of that. But another thing that producers will run into is they'll be like, well, I want to sell you my wine. I got good wine. And the supermarket or restaurant or whatever will be like, well, we just go through Columbia's book. Like, Columbia just sets our book up for us, or whatever. Columbia is a huge distribution company in the Northwest. And yeah, like, if you are not with Columbia, they're not going to take you on, because, like, they don't want to deal with some independent thing. It's messy books. They don't, like, they have a simple billing system. Someone else does the inventory thing. They don't have to worry about anything. If you show up saying, like, I've got this thing, it's like, that's tricky. Breweries, there's one of the things that helps breweries and independent breweries self-distribute is that kegs are very easy things to track and talk about in inventories. They're not fuzzy. Bottles get weird because of glass sales and stuff, and like there's more loss with bottles of wine than there is with a keg of beer.
Yeah.
Which is another factor on the restaurant end of things. But what was the thing I was trying to remember about? So there's the pricing model of distribution when it comes to freight on board and retail and wholesale and how all of that works. The other thing that it gets tricky about all of that is domestic distributors working with domestic wineries can buy wine all year round, but because of how a lot of wine is sold to importers, being, you know, sent over on freighters, and usually needing to be sent over in quantity to fill shipping containers and, you know, make it worthwhile for everyone involved. There is more of a relationship with the timing of when wine is ready to be moved. So, you know, there'll be a bottling, and then there'll be a timing of when it can get moved, and then when it shows up and the quantities that it shows up in. So distributors have to have that paid for, or they have to be able to pay for it at port. You can't let wine leave a port if it's not been paid for. There has to be paperwork showing that somebody owns it, because it's booze. Somebody owns it on U.S. soil. So those payments have to be made. A lot of distributors leverage their domestic book, unless they have better, a better revenue stream and it's more organized. A thing that will happen is a distributor will leverage its domestic book, where there might be a 60-day window for checks or payment. They'll leverage that to make their payments on their international stuff. So you get wine from your domestic providers, sell it, and then you wait to it's just floating a check. Like, you just wait to make your payment to the producer on that. So like the distribution model in almost all cases hurts. In all cases, the distribution model hurts producers because you're always making less wine on, or sorry, you're always making less money on your wine than you potentially could, because the consumer expectation of what your wine costs is generally consistent.
Yeah.
But as soon as you're giving it to someone else to sell, you have to let them make some money on it too. And importers and distributors tend to be the place, importers in particular tend to be the place where scarcity is leveraged into profit. So if you are the bottleneck of a certain wine into the US, and there's not a lot of that wine in Europe anyways, then you get to do whatever you want to with price on the other end, because you've already bought it at an agreed upon price from the producer. But then, they probably won't be checking that closely on what you're selling it to restaurants or wine shops for. And then they need to make money too. And a thing to keep in mind about like a restaurant, and this is what I've been told, and I think it's based on wholesale, but the classic restaurant markup is three times. Yeah, so they're buying it wholesale from a distributor. They're just tripling the price. And restaurants, honestly, I don't lament them doing that, because like, if they've, it's kind of annoying with bottles, but the classic statement about glass pours is, if a restaurant has a glass pour, they either need that wine to be selling well enough that they're not, opening one bottle of it a night, pouring one glass, and then that bottle isn't getting a glass poured out of it for 2 more nights and it's just going bad. They to be a glass pour at a restaurant, you have to have a good wine that's consistent, that's not super expensive, because they need to be able to set the glass at a price where if they just sell 2 glasses of it, they've made the money back on the bottle. So when you look at that's my understanding, is if you look at the glass pour price,
a glass pour is usually like, the cost of the glass is usually the wholesale.
Oh no, that's how it is. They make money on the second glass.
So even if they just pour one glass of it,
they've covered what they paid. Yeah, that's it. So they need to pour 2 glasses to make money on a bottle. Is the thing. And a restaurant that's not being tight-fisted with their wine will get 4 glasses, 4 glass pours out of a bottle. Someone being vaguely tight-fisted will get 5.
Yeah. So if you're gonna go out to eat at a restaurant and you and a couple other people are all like, let's get a couple of glasses of wine, whatever, just get a bottle.
Yeah, always look at the bottle list if you're with people.
Yeah, and you're like, the bottle's expensive, but
get a cocktail.
What'd you say?
And if you're not, get a cocktail.
Just get a cocktail, yeah. Because if you're like, if 4 people all buy like whatever, a glass of the wine, it's like you could have just got a fucking bottle.
And the bottle list is always more interesting than the glass pour list.
Oh, yeah.
That's not like a revelation. Like, people, anyone who's been to a restaurant will, a decent restaurant. Like, there are some restaurants that have pretty, like, just bad wine lists generally. But yeah, there are so many restaurants out there that might have like 2 or 3 options for reds and like 3 or 4 options for whites in glass pours, and then 50 to 70 bottles listed, and that's not super uncommon.
Yeah. This could actually I don't know if you want to talk more about continue to talk more about distributors, because I think this would be a good tie-in to eventually make our way over to wine shops. Do you want to merge that way, or is there more you want to talk about with distributors?
I think we've covered sort of the like mental nexus of distributors.
Okay, so one thing that a lot of people don't know, and I didn't know until I started like getting into wine, is that you can bring your own wine to a restaurant. You can bring your own wine to a restaurant, and because the markup is 3 times wholesale, most wine shops are like, but they multiply. What is it? They it's like 1.5 for 1 2/3 or something like that is the price
Yeah.
adjustment for. So you save much more money if you just buy the at the wine shop than you at the restaurant. But most restaurants will charge you what is called a corkage fee, which is maybe like a price per bottle. That they will charge you for bringing your own wine to the restaurant. So maybe some of them are like 15, 10, 15, 20.
I think 20 is a very normal corkage.
Yeah, if they're fucking you, it'll be like 30 or more. Is like they clearly do not want you to bring your fucking wine in.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it's like, all right, well, if you're gonna buy a bottle of wine, and you're like, oh, I want to bring a bottle to dinner. Just be prepared to tack conservatively $25 onto the bottle of wine, and think about how much it's going to cost you, and then think about, all right, how much would that cost if I were to buy it at the restaurant, if they even have it at the restaurant.
Yeah. Now, some restaurants have very cool wines that you won't necessarily see in that many shops in your area. So
100%, yeah.
We're not saying don't look at the wine list at restaurants or don't buy wine from restaurants.
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, sometimes I will, and have done that, go onto a restaurant's website before I go eat there. I always look at menus and stuff before I go to eat somewhere, but a lot of times they have their wine list online, and you can be like, oh shit, they have that, awesome. And sometimes I'll go to a restaurant like just specifically because they have a couple of cool bottles of wine, and then of course I'm not going to bring a bottle.
A great example of that is the French Laundry. Their wine list on their website is hilarious. It's humongous. Is it? Yeah, it's so big. Like
if you look at most like
well, they're
whatever,
like a 3-star Michelin restaurant. Like
I was gonna say most like 2 or 3 Michelin star restaurants have like really really long wine lists because a lot of them have that budget, and like you were saying before, they do have cellars. Yeah. So they can they can afford to buy something whatever more obscure
or they might have a vintage of something that you're not going to be able to find in a shop anymore, and the price for it might be obscene. But if you want to drink that wine, it might be the only way to drink it in your state in some instances, probably. Yeah.
What I'll do is usually like if I'm looking at a wine list or whatever, I'll just go through and I'm just looking for like, all right, what. Just like under $100 immediately. It's like I rule out pretty much everything else, and it's like, okay, now I can look at things that are like actually like reasonable. Because let's see, if let's say if there was something like $90, right? That means that they bought it for $30. So then at a restaurant, at a wine shop, you could find that for maybe about $50.
Oh, a funny story I actually have about markup that I've been meaning to tell you and I keep forgetting. That time we went to Nick's back room and you bought that Italian bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon. Yeah. I found that in a wine shop a couple weeks after that, and I think it was the same price.
That's crazy.
Which is just a shout out to Nick's for not having a markup on it. That was they had like a normal like wine shop style markup on it, I'm sure. Which like is because they're a really cool like industry focused restaurant.
No, their prices are incredible.
Yeah, so shout out to them.
What do we get? We got like a Brickhouse Shard there too.
Yeah.
Fantastic
bottle of wine. Again, I'm pretty
delicious.
Sure exactly what we would have paid in the supermarket for.
That wine, I forgot about that cat. That was really good.
It was good, yeah. There was another funny story I was gonna remark on a burger joint that was open in town here for a while. That I think their normal corkage fee was $5, and then
that's great.
During happy hour it was 5 cents.
Dude, those places are the best. Like, and look, I understand. Cool. Like, if you have a cellar full of fucking wine and you need to move it, like. Yeah, I understand you want to discourage people slightly from wanting to just bring their own wine. In some places, like if you look at Michelin star restaurants, whatever, they're like, or not even Michelin, but at certain places in the menu, it's just like, it's like, they'll say like,
corkage fees exist.
But they'll say like, okay, whatever, $30, $35, $40 corkage fee for the first 3 bottles, and then after that, it's like $100 for each bottle or something like that. Or they'll say like 30 for. Let's say like 20 for a bottle and like 50 for mags or something like that.
Yeah, because which is the reverse of what you'd expect. Like,
no, it's
you are if you're getting tipsy and want to open more bottles, they want you to be buying their shit.
Right. So it's yeah. But yeah, no, but the wine lists are cool. The only thing is that like I like doing that. I like looking at somewhere online. The list online, because a lot of places they're pretty on it, and they know what they have, and they know how much it costs, and if they get a good deal on it, they're gonna acknowledge the fact that they got a good deal on it, and most times they're not gonna like sell it for cheap. They're gonna be like, oh wow, and we're gonna make 4 times the money rather than 3 times, you know.
Yeah.
But there are places like the one you just mentioned, and a couple others that you'll find where that like if you want to have a cool bottle of wine. And if you want to have a cool bottle of wine at a reasonable price and go out to dinner, you're just going to go there. And they pretty much become go-tos. And then you'll just bring your wine to other places, and you'll just sort of bite the bullet on whatever the corkage fee. But like I tend to, I don't know, I like to support places that like give a shit about you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
no, the intention of a restaurant is not a hard thing to figure out. If it's I once had a Som tell me, like, no, you need to understand the way a restaurant works. You're renting a seat to a person, ideally for as little time as you can. Mm-hmm. Like, realistically, for as much money as you can. But the less time that you're renting that seat to them, the better.
Yeah.
Unless they're spending money. So it's that is the equation you have to be running in your head when you're working the floor. And
exactly.
I got what he meant by that, but it was just so, like, I don't ever want to work that way.
No.
And, you know, and he's, like, he was running through a list of some of the people he's poured wine for, and they're people that, like, I would never want to have to, like, work in a service position around. Like, I wouldn't want to pour wine for some of the people that, you know, he has. But yeah, no, that's that is a thing. There are restaurants you will go to that are supposed to be about, like, having this incredible experience where they are, in their mind, it's just about how much money they can make on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, someone involved has to care about that experience. Like, you know, a chef probably, or someone is doing something that makes people believe in that experience. But there are other people whose job it is to refine that to a money-making venture. And it's very cynical, but, you know,